Hello everybody, welcome back to Going to Ground and the second episode of this fourth season of short reflections on YouTube about spirituality and place and landscape. I give them from a Christian perspective, as that's my background and belief. I'm a bishop in Wiltshire in England. My name's Andrew Rumsey, I work for the Church of England, which has an ancient and deep relationship with place in this part of the world, and a long-standing tenure really of responsibility for places going back over 1,000 years. So it's part of what I am and do professionally, but it's also at the roots of who I am and what I love. So I post from around Wiltshire. I'm in Marlborough in the north of the county, and I'm often in a field or a hedgerow or in a church somewhere. But this evening, after a busy day in Salisbury, I'm back in my study, and I'm looking ahead to a talk I'm giving on Sunday about this fellow, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, famous poet. That's him in his younger years. He's about 25 there, and mugging up about him. I tend to do this. I accept events and gigs and things as an opportunity for me to do some creative work, and then I think afterwards, why did I agree to that? I'm no expert on this theme, but these things are often a spur to me to actually read further. I commit myself and then I have to do the work. It's quite a good way of doing it sometimes. So anyway, over the last month I've been reading a lot more about Coleridge. I do like him, and I know his writings quite well. Not so much his poetry actually as his prose. That's what attracted me to him. He's very difficult to read. His prose is really tangled and hard work, but then just comes up with luminous phrases and ideas. He's very much an ideas person and a philosopher, really. Christian philosopher, became quite a staunch Anglican in later life after trying all kinds of things. His life was an absolute car crash. His relationships in marriage, opium addict for years, about 20 years at least of opium addiction, which he just couldn't get out of. And it's before anybody really understood the medical concept of addiction, and you could buy laudanum and opium over the chemist. Well, Coleridge lived for a year in Caen as he was trying to recover a bit. And Caen's just up the road from here, and I'm speaking at the Caen Festival on Sunday about the man. And it's called A Man with His Mind Ajar, which is a line from an Elizabeth Jennings poem that I think I've read on Going to Ground before, actually. A lovely poem called In Praise of Creation, where she finishes off the poem with this wonderful line of waiting on the mystery. Man with his mind ajar. And it sums up Coleridge. And William Hazlitt, one of his great friends, the essayist, said something similar, wrote something similar about him, that his mind kept open house, which is great phrase. Anyway, if you're around on Sunday afternoon in Wiltshire, on the off chance that you are, 3 o'clock at Marden House as part of the festival. You can find tickets at Ticket Source and online. I might post something of the text or the script of it. But as I'm thinking around Coleridge, I remembered that having that where he lived in the town in Caen, opposite the church, actually, I discovered last year that a previous incumbent priest at the church, who became known as St Edmund of Canterbury. He was a very famous incumbent, or in those terms, of the parish church in the 12th century, wrote some poems and writings that really curiously are evoked in Coleridge, and whether Coleridge had access to knew about that or knew the prayer I'm going to read to you. It's really striking because at the heart of Coleridge's philosophy, just to be really brief, to give you an idea of it, is a sense of the wonder of existence and of God's being there before we know about it, and actually for Coleridge, life is not about I think, therefore I am, that great phrase of the Enlightenment. I work it out, so it must be true. Or what is true is only what I can comprehend. For Coleridge, it was very much, and he wrote this in Calm, I think because I am. That's part of the book that he wrote when he was living opposite the church. And so there's this great sense of God's being at the heart of existence. And I discovered from the current rector, actually, a prayer of St Edmund of Canterbury, 700 years, 600 years before Coleridge. And I'll read it to you, and you'll see the resonance in the ideas. I love the idea that the places produce certain kinds of idea. It's often talked about. Peter Ackroyd writes about it with regard to London, doesn't he? And I do think it's true. Certain habits, ways of life, produce a kind of ongoing mood, if you like, in a place, or a tradition in a place. Who knows how? But anyway, I'll just finish with this prayer, and it's a good prayer for a good evening prayer of coming into awareness of God here with us. Lord, since you exist, we exist. Since you are beautiful, we are beautiful. Since you are good, we are good. By our existence, we honour you. By our beauty, we glorify you. By our goodness, we love you. Lord, through your power, all things were made. Through your wisdom, all things are governed. Through your grace, all things are sustained. Give us power to serve you, wisdom to discern your laws, and grace to obey them at all times. Amen. Look forward to speaking with you again soon, friends. God bless you as you go to ground.